Our second inductee, John Oldham. John Oldham is a legendary athlete and a Hall of Fame coach. His induction today into the WKU Hall of Distinguished Alumni marks his 7th Hall of Fame induction. He came to Western in 1942 to play basketball under E.A. Diddle. He served Western as a superior athlete and later as a winning coach and as athletic director. A WKU All-American, John Oldham is the only basketball player to have his jersey retired for both his playing ability and his coaching success. As head coach for the Tennessee Tech Golden Eagles, John Oldham had the distinction of being the only coach in the Ohio Valley Conference who did not have a losing record against Western's coach Diddle. Who would have thought that a record of 9-9 would ever be so highly regarded? In 1964, he returned to Western and replaced his mentor as head coach. He led the team in the tradition established by Coach Diddle, with his teams winning 78% of their games, 4 OVC championships, and making 5 postseason appearances in national tournaments. And he retired at the top of his game after the 1971 season, a legendary season that saw Western play in the NCAA Final Four. That 1971 march to the Houston Astrodome saw Coach Oldham knock off the nation's best independent, Jacksonville, the Big Ten champion Ohio State, and the SEC champion Kentucky, 107-83. Thank you. He served his country in the U.S. Navy during World War II and later served his community as a three-term Bowling Green City Commissioner. He and his wife Bobby have 2 children, John Robert and Suzanne, and 3 grandchildren, Max, Demi, and Devon. Our next inductee, John Oldham, and we apologize, the bulb blew in the screen to my right, so I hope those of you on this side of the room can see this screen completely. Our next inductee, John Oldham. Your attention, please.
His name is synonymous with Western Kentucky University athletics. Coach John Oldham has done it all. A former professional athlete, a Hilltopper All-American, college coach, and university athletics director. The Hartford, Kentucky High School All-Star honoree arrived on the Hill in 1942, ready to play basketball for his mentor, Coach E.A. Diddle. And play he did, leading his team to tournament action in the Big Apple in the spring of 1943.
We played in the National Invitational Basketball Tournament in New York City. Now, realizing I came from a town of 1,000 people, now I'm in New York City. I'm playing in Madison Square Garden before 18,000 people. That's 18 of my hometowns in one building. That probably was the highlight, and probably has been one of the highlights of my life, that I played before 18,000 people 1 year after I'd gotten out of Hartford High School.
Following his freshman year at Western, Oldham served in the U.S. Navy. Returning to the Hill in 1946, he received a bachelor's degree. Oldham played 2 seasons with the NBA's Fort Wayne, now known as the Detroit Pistons, kicked off his coaching career at College High, served as head coach at Tennessee Tech, only to be called back to Western to fill the shoes of Coach Ed Diddle as his heir apparent.
You don't fill shoes like that. Mr. Diddle was very colorful, very quotable, was always doing things that sports writers enjoyed. They just loved the Diddleisms. You know, there's been 2 books written on Coach Diddle, and they concentrated heavily upon the Diddleisms, and I sort of the man in the gray suit. I didn't have the color nor flash that Coach Diddle had, but I was privileged with some great young men, good prospects, good students, and great basketball players.
For veteran broadcaster Wes Strader, having the opportunity to work professionally with his childhood hero was a dream realized.
Well, what comes to mind when I hear the name Johnny Oldham is the great basketball player first, because that's the way I knew him as a kid. And then after we got to know each other and our families were great friends, I know the man. And he's just such a wonderful, warm human being. He was a great coach. I don't know that John Oldham ever got the credit that he richly deserved for his coaching ability. The job that he did at Tennessee Tech and then what he accomplished at Western Kentucky. He had great players, but a lot of the time coaches have trouble making everything work just right with great players. He was a disciplinarian on the floor. He's always been a disciplinarian. He is just a warm, wonderful human being.
John Oldham was recognized by the OVC as Coach of the Year 4 times. He left coaching in 1971, took over as WKU Athletics Director until his retirement in 1986. In a career marked by scores of honors and recognition, Coach Oldham's philosophy remains simple. Treat others as you would like to be treated.
I never was much for yelling, screaming, hollering, cussing ball players. I talked to them as young men, and I think they responded in the same manner. If that's a philosophy, I guess that would have been my philosophy.
2002 Hall of Distinguished Alumni honoree, John Oldham.
President Ransdale, Regents, Alumni Board of Directors, members of the Hall of Distinguished Alumni, ladies and gentlemen, let me assure you that I am genuinely humbled, highly honored, and exceedingly pleased to be among those selected for membership in the Hall of Distinguished Alumni. Upon learning of this totally unexpected and greatly appreciated honor, there was a mixture of emotions that swept over me. I must admit to feeling more than a little surprised when there are so many Western graduates who have distinguished themselves in their chosen field of endeavor. That realization quickly elevated this honor to the pinnacle of any that I could ever receive. As you might expect, the honor is even more meaningful and appreciated by induction in tandem with 2 great all-time faculty members, Dr. Gordon Wilson Sr. and Dr. L.Y. Lancaster. They and those in their likeness who graced the Hill during and preceding my generation of students are remembered with respect, admiration, and a deep appreciation by all who knew them. For all who have aspired for Western to be the best it can be, they led the quest for academic excellence and high achievement while serving as an example of devotion to our profession of teaching. There are so many to whom I should extend my sincere appreciation. When growing up in Hartford, the expression often used to express the ultimate ingratitude was many thanks. So today I say to the source of my nomination, many thanks. To the review committee and to the Alumni Board of Directors, many thanks. And to our beloved Western Kentucky University for the educational opportunity, many thanks. In accepting this honor, I do so in behalf of the many people who have so graciously and generously given encouragement and support in my personal and professional life. Let me hasten to add that this is also shared by my family, who are individually and collectively the light of my life, my wonderful wife, Bobby, of almost 53 years, our son, John Robert, our daughter, Suzanne, and 3 grandchildren, Max, Demi, and Devin. Will my family please stand to be recognized? I accept on behalf of the supportive colleagues and many wonderful students and players with whom I have been privileged to serve as a teacher, coach, and director of athletics, on behalf of Coach Diddle, who stated to Dr. Thompson in 1963, "I'm ready to retire as basketball coach at Western if you will get John Oldham to succeed me." And President Thompson and his assistant, Dr. Downing, when they joined with Coach Diddle in bringing me home to the Hill. It was my good fortune from the time I was a student at Western to be exposed to and influenced by many great teachers and administrators. Coach Diddle, Coach Stansberry, Coach Hornback, Dr. Minton, Dr. Oglesby, Dr. Cruz, and my classmates and teammates who shared in an unwavering belief and commitment to the motto and the ideas upon which Western was founded and built. I recall the occasion when that special sense of pride in Western was further nourished by Mrs. Travelstead, leading us in singing College Heights on Hilltop Fair at the weekly chapel programs, by Professor Loudermilk leading a cheer at Homecoming Chapel, by Mr. Diddle stating, "Remember one thing, you don't represent your individual self, you represent the institution." And one more of my favorite comments by Coach Diddle, "Keep your head on your shoulders and don't get all blurry-eyed." Throughout the years of my professional life, it has been my wish, my hope, and my aspiration to be the best teacher, coach, and athletic director that I could be. If I have in some small measure achieved that goal, I am sincerely grateful and genuinely proud. Again, to all those mentioned and many more, but most of all to my alma mater, many thanks.
Dr. Gordon Wilson.